Welcome to the third episode of Starring Stephanie Campos. This is for the week of February 16th through the 22nd, 2026. This week's episode is brought to you by Mercury retrograde. What did I tell you last week? That we were in the pre-retrograde shadow period, and that for me personally, it is often a little bit more difficult. So that's exactly what happened. I edited and recorded this episode yesterday, and I finished it, and just as I was exporting it, the entire video deleted. So this episode is coming to you a little late, but better late than never. And this is literally one of the biggest weeks in 2026 when it comes to astrology. There is so much going on in the stars and in the world. Before we dive in, the main news item that I want to bring up is to bring awareness for Mr. Charles Sonny Burton. Sonny Burton is 75 years old, and the state of Alabama currently plans to execute him despite the fact that he did not commit a murder. The actual shooter in the crime was actually resentenced to life in prison without parole, yet Sonny remains on death row. And as of right now, the state of Alabama plans to execute Sonny on March 12th, but there is something we can do about it. We can contact Governor Ivey and demand that she grant clemency for Sonny. This literally takes 20 seconds of your life, and it could save a life. For those of you who have been following me for quite some time, you'll know that I talk a lot about the death penalty because I am against the death penalty and I want to abolish the death penalty. This has been one of my core beliefs since I was a child. I remember writing a persuasive essay in 6th grade against the death penalty, and it's one of my core memories from my childhood, even though I don't have a lot of memories from my childhood. And to me, that's an indication that there's a reason for that. There's a reason that I still hold on to that memory. And advocating against the death penalty and for the people who are on death row is something that is so important to me and will continue to be important to me. So you're going to hear me talk about it more and more. One of the reasons that it's so important to me is that this is an incredibly oppressive, unjust, and racist system. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, approximately 41% of people on death row are Black, despite the fact that only about 13% of the United States population is Black. That is not by accident. That is by design. That is due to a racist system. I believe that people who are incarcerated are often forgot about and neglected, treated as less than human. As someone who is spiritual, it is my belief that we are all interconnected, that none of us are better than any other person, and that we have a divine responsibility to one another. I carry the hope in my heart that we can get back to a place as a people where we recognize the humanity in everyone, where we can build a world where everyone is free. And that starts with small, tiny daily acts consistently. And one act that you can take today is calling Governor Ivey and asking that she grant clemency for Sonny. I'll put a link to the number in the show notes. I swear to you, it takes less than 20 seconds. Now, originally I had also recorded at length about other news stories that are going on in the world. I'm just going to give a quick overview because Mercury retrograde, but essentially the US is enacting an oil blockade in Cuba. And this is a huge deal because the island only has a few days left of oil. And yes, this can cause a humanitarian crisis, but it's beyond that. It is essentially the start of a man-made, human-made genocide. This is exactly what Israel did to Palestine. They cut off the fuel first. There is something we can do about this. We can contact our representatives. You can download the 5 Calls app that automatically populates the phone numbers of your representatives, your senators. It gives you scripts. If you're shy talking on the phone, it's super easy. Remember, the senators and representatives work for us. We don't owe them loyalty. It's actually their job to represent our interests and what matters most to us. This blockade is horrific and brutal and fully avoidable. I'm also going to include a link to mutual aid in Minneapolis because despite whatever you're seeing in the news, ICE is still terrorizing their communities. And the best way to support is by donating to mutual aid and people on the ground in Minneapolis. Okay, now let's touch on the astrology of the week. The BFD, biggest freaking deal, astrological aspect of the week, and the worst astrological aspect of the week are kind of one and the same and linked together. So let's start out with the BFD. It starts on February 17th. We have a new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius. But that's not all. This is also the start of Ramadan. This is also the Lunar New Year. This is also the beginning of Lent. Well, actually, that's on the 18th, but you get where I'm going with this, right? There's a lot going on collectively in the world. And we have this major new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius. It's our first eclipse in Aquarius since 2017, 2018. And it's kicking off a brand new series of eclipses on the Leo Aquarius axis. Now, this eclipse in particular is going to take place at 28 degrees of Aquarius, and that's almost the final degree. So even though we have this new moon solar eclipse, which is associated with new beginnings, there is this sense of a finality or an ending as this eclipse is taking place towards the end of the Aquarius section of the zodiac. So that is a little bit kind of intense of itself. Now, on top of it, this new moon solar eclipse is square Uranus, which is going to bring destabilizing energy, surprises, breakthroughs. It can help you show up more authentically. It can help you take a risk, but it also is very destabilizing and it can bring a lot of unpredictable situations and interactions your way. This eclipse is also ruled by Saturn. Aquarius's natural ruling planet in traditional astrology is Saturn. And at the time of this eclipse, we have a Saturn-Neptune conjunction taking place in Aries. Now, this is, I'm going to just say it's the worst astrological aspect of the week. Could it be positive? Sure, for some of us. But when Saturn and Neptune come together, it's rare. First of all, it only happens once every 36 years or so. And in this case in particular, it's taking place at 0 degrees of Aries. That is the first degree of Aries and also the literal first degree of the entire zodiac wheel. So tell me that's not a big deal when we have this eclipse coinciding with this major astrological event that kind of ushers in the start of a new era. And we have all of these other major events unfolding in the collective. So since this eclipse is ruled by Saturn, it means that it's responding to that Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Now, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries is taking place on Friday, February 20th. And it's going to be building until we get to that point. We've honestly already been feeling it ever since Saturn entered Aries on February 13th. Now, we also had a preview of this last summer from May 24th through September 1st when Saturn and Neptune were co-present in the sign of Aries. They just never reached that exact conjunction, but we were starting to feel themes and clues of what's to come with our personal and collective Saturn and Neptune storylines. Now, this is all taking place in the Aries section of your chart and the Aquarius section of your chart. So there's going to be a lot of activity and themes that are linked and tied together in the coming days, especially. So another thing that's important about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, why am I saying that it's the worst astrology of the week? Well, Saturn is a planet of restriction and consequences and responsibility and boundaries and borders and who and what lies on the margins and discipline and commitment. And Neptune is a planet of our emotional realm, our ideals, our spirituality, our creativity, compassion. And when they come together, Neptune has this quality of illusion, and it is known for being very watery, and it often fogs things or dissolves things. So we are taking what was familiar and stable, Saturn, and Neptune is kind of eroding it. And this can feel destabilizing, right? We already have this eclipse that is square Uranus, which is destabilizing. And then we have it responding to Saturn and Neptune, which is also destabilizing. So this is going to be a big moment for us personally and collectively. especially if you were born around 1989 through 1991 when Saturn and Neptune were co-present in the sign of Capricorn. You're also going to be a main character. So when Saturn and Neptune come together, it can also kind of feel like a reality check, a goal, a vision we had for a future, something we've been focused on. We're realizing it's not stable and maybe there is some sort of dissolving or it's being removed from our lives. And that can feel disappointing. It can feel depressing. It can bring up grief and uncertainty. However, over time, it is being replaced and we are taking some of our visions and our dreams and we are creating systems and structures in which they are able to show up in the tangible world. So something is coming over time. It's not going to happen right away. That is more in alignment with who you are and who you want to be. But that's not to bypass how intense this moment is. So if you've been feeling anxious, if you've been struggling in any way, just know we are going through a period of time that is very monumental. Look at the world around you. There are so many reasons to feel overwhelmed and depressed, but it is our duty and responsibility to also remain grounded in this moment, to tend to our center. And I think as Saturn and Neptune come together in the sign of Aries, it gives us this opportunity to take our anger and our rage, which is very Aries because Aries is ruled by Mars, this planet of anger, rage, motivation, action, and to wield it into something constructive. Having hope, envisioning a future in which we all deserve is a radical act. And the last time that Saturn and Neptune came together in the sign of Aries was 1703. But it didn't come together at 0 degrees of Aries, the first degree in the zodiac. And to me, that indicates that this is the very beginning of a brand new era and cycle. And to us, we have the ability to envision, build, and create and say what we want to see in the world. We don't have to let history repeat itself. We can take a hold of the pen and create the narrative. If you want to know more about this new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, I go into it in depth in my daily horoscope podcast. And if you join me over on Patreon, you can gain access to all 7 episodes for the week ahead instantly. So I hope to see you there. I've also started doing a free weekly psychic reading on my Patreon, and you can join my Patreon for free if you want access to that. One other thing, if you are interested in astrology and you want to learn more, I am launching Grimoire, which is my 12-week group mentorship that begins in late March. We will gather on the spring equinox to do a group spell and get to know one another. And then from there are 12 weeks of classes that cover different topics from intro to astrology, tarot, getting to know your spirit team, building a relationship with your intuition, psychic development, and so much more. I'll put a link in the show notes and I hope to see you there as well. Okay, the best astrological aspect of the week, because yes, there is one. On Sunday, February 22nd, we have Venus in Pisces forming a trine with Jupiter in Cancer. Venus and Jupiter are the 2 benefics in astrology, which means they are the 2 luckiest planets in the sky. They are supportive. They give us hope. They bring about justice and peace and healing and creativity and embodiment. This is beautiful energy for relationships, for collective care, for building community, for experiencing progress, support, gratitude, connection to the present moment, emotional and meaningful interactions. Venus and Jupiter are both in 2 signs in which they are exalted in traditional astrology. And that means that they're just better able to do the stuff that each of those planets does. So Venus is better able to support our relationships, our creativity, our personal values. Jupiter is able to better support our beliefs, our goals, our dreams, justice, and spirituality as well. On the same day, the moon will be moving through Taurus, which is also exalted, and it's traveling between Venus and Jupiter, which means we are really going to feel that energy because the moon is the closest celestial body to Earth. It's bringing the energy of that trine down to us even more prominently. So if there is a meaningful conversation you want to have, if there's something you want to raise awareness for, if you want to do community work or organizing, if you want to apply for a job, if you want to post a sexy selfie on the internet or shoot your shot with someone, this is the day to do so. Okay, this week we have the Lovers, the Seven of Cups, and the Three of Pentacles. Anytime I see the Seven of Cups, I get scattered energy. So there could be some feeling of uncertainty about what you want to focus on or who you want to collaborate with, or just feeling uncertain about the collaborations and opportunities that are in front of you. And this heavier feeling of knowing that the choices that you make, you want to make them in alignment with your personal values. But maybe there is a tempting choice or an option, whether it is in your professional life, a personal relationship, a romantic life, that is alluring and kind of drawing you in, even if you feel like practically and deep down, you know it is misaligned. This energy also feels very much like trial and error, like you won't know until you try. So try new things. Maybe you're holding yourself back from a certain collaboration or partnership because you're giving into limiting beliefs, or you're just feeling too nervous to try something new and fail. This poll can also encourage you to just put yourself out there, to take that first step, to lean on others for their expertise and wisdom. And so you can be in a reciprocal relationship and share your own expertise and wisdom back. As always, if you want a more in-depth weekly psychic collective reading, I offer that on my Patreon every single week. And I also offer a monthly tarot spread, a monthly astrology election, a monthly live event, a class with me, and so much more. I hope to see you there. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.